Hi and welcome to Retribution Paladin Update 9A. These updates are something I do based on the Legion Alpha whenever we get changes. As such, if you're watching this a bit after I've put the video out, it may not be the most up to date. So if you click on the annotation, it will take you to the playlist where I prune out anything that is not up to date. Now what I'm going to focus on here is not just group PvE, which I normally do because there's been relatively few changes, but one of the changes will impact us on solo play. And because in Legion, world questing is going to be a thing even at level cap. It's going to be a big part of our game. I'm going to do a bit on that as well. Now, the stated aim with Rets this build from the developers has been to make the other level 100 talents, aside from Blessings of Justice, a little bit more competitive. Ultimately, how this has been achieved is by reducing cooldowns. Equality has gone from a 5-minute cooldown back to a 3-minute cooldown, which it sort of had before. Now, the downside to equality, of course, a lot of people have noted, is that it is just not an ability you can seriously plan for. It works by converting lost health from you into damage on up to 3 mobs. So obviously, if you're going to do a decent amount of damage with it, you have to be quite low on health. You're not allowed to have forbearance active, so you can't well, if you want to make the best use out of it, you don't really want Divine Intervention, because if that procs gives you forbearance, then you can't use Equality. And of course, it means that even if you don't take that and you get yourself quite low health, you risk dying, which means you do no damage. It does promote a fairly degenerate style of play. At the same time, a lot of people are arguing against it. No one's really arguing for it. I mean, that's the maddening thing about it. But to my mind, I don't care. When it comes to talents, I have the following viewpoint, and that is I'm not actually bothered about our talents in so much as do we have the tools to deal with the various situations I'm going to come across, from my point of view, especially in raiding. And if the answer is yes, I don't. If there's a talent that I will just never take, because that's the case now. There have always been talents I will never take in every form of this game. So how does this differ? It doesn't. Now, if we are missing abilities that we need, which we are, for certain common situations, that is more of a problem. But I don't want to go too much on equality. Now, when it comes to the other ability, which is Holy Wrath, they have made a couple of interesting changes. They've also reduced the cooldown on Holy Wrath a little bit. It's still channeled, but, and I don't know that this came in this build, it could have come a build or two ago, because I haven't used Holy Wrath for some time. But certainly when I was first testing out Holy Wrath, and when I've last tested out Holy Wrath, in fact, the main problem was in a raid or dungeon situation, it's just slowing you down so much, and it wasn't particularly competitive. So what was the point of using it? But for solo, you could sort of see the benefit. But the problem was it's channeled, and pushback reduced the length of time you could channel it for. That doesn't happen now. You can actually use it solo. So if you're being hit while you're using it, you're still getting the full benefit from it. It's not, you know, the duration hasn't been reduced down. Also, you're not having to channel it for very long. I don't have a great deal of haste. I have a moderate amount. For someone who's just got basically questing gear and a bit of dungeon gear, not very much. And it's not been channeled for that long. The problem, of course, for a lot of people is it's not a very Retribution type ability. This fact that we're not doing anything. I mean, people are used to Retribution Paladins basically pressing something whenever your global cooldown has finished. Now, that is no longer happening. I've already done a video explaining how it's not actually that bad. You can see me here. I'm not really having a lot of downtime. And it's not true to say there's no downtime currently in Warlords of Draenor. But with Holy Wrath, you are just stopping, and you might have abilities to use. And I think some people are not going to like that. I don't think it's all that competitive at the moment either, but that's a tuning issue rather than a mechanics issue. I mean, mechanically, it's not a bad ability. It's really the same as Fists of Justice for Windwalker Monks, only you can use it at range. So it's not that it's a bad mechanic, it's just that it's not a ret mechanic. And I think this is one of the issues. It's certainly something that a lot of people are arguing. Some people much more than I am. For me, it's less of an issue, but I can still appreciate the issue where people are saying that I am playing a Retribution Paladin because of this particular playstyle. If you stop it being that playstyle, I'm not going to play it. And if you're not finding new people to play it who didn't like the old playstyle but like this one, then okay, that's going to be an issue. Now, when it comes to soloing, Holy Wrath, along with Justicars Vengeance, are actually really good. They've also got a reasonably nice synergy that goes along with them. Now, there are areas of the game in the world where there are elites. I mean, I was going to Blackrook Hole, something, I can't remember the name of the bloody thing now. And I saw a daily quest there. I didn't actually read it properly. I don't do reading. It turned out to be dungeon quests. But I went through there anyway, and I was going through elites. And I was finding that it's actually really nice to have Holy Wrath and Justicars Vengeance for soloing. And the reason is, of course, Justicars Vengeance, it heals you for the same amount of damage it does. It costs 5 holy power, but if the mob is stunned, it does extra damage, quite a lot of extra damage, which also means it does a lot of extra healing on you. So although it's not a quick process taking out these elites, nonetheless, you can do these elites, and it doesn't even matter if a few more mobs come in and things like that. If you're starting to get a bit low on health, don't let yourself get too low, of course. But all you need to do is use a couple of Justicars Vengeance, and you can do this really quickly. You can, for example, make sure Judgment's up, stun the mob. You can use, if you haven't got any holy power, it doesn't matter. You can use Wake of Ashes, that gives you 5 holy power. If it's against an undead mob, that would do the stun anyway. You don't have to use your Hammer of Justice. But if it's not, you use your Hammer of Justice first. Stun the mob, that gives you 5. Wake of Ashes gives you 5 holy power. Justicars Vengeance, nice big heal. Let's say that's not enough because you let yourself your health go quite low. Then you use Holy Wrath, channel Holy Wrath in, and then you can get another Justicars Vengeance off, and you may well get that off before your Hammer of Justice has even faded. And as I say, if it's against an undead mob, as in these cases, you don't even have to do it like that. You can save your Hammer of Justice for when you're going to use Holy Wrath, because Holy Wrath has a much longer, although it's a shorter cooldown, it's still a much longer cooldown than Hammer of Justice. So you can absolutely always have that up for it, and just use your Wake of Ashes for its own stun when you're using that. So you can go through elites without any real worry at all. And there's not all specs will be able to do this. So for solo, we have pretty good self-healing. Now, when this comes to a dungeon, if it's on trash, the same thing applies, because again, you can stun. Now, in situations where you can't stun, it's still self-healing. But the issue is that you haven't got you're going to lose DPS by doing this self-healing, and it's not as effective at doing the healing as well. Because Justicars Vengeance is actually a DPS increase over Templar's Verdict, even considering the extra holy power required if the mob is stunned. So you can actually use it even if you're full on health as a DPS increase. Just keep stunning whatever you're attacking. But when you can't stun it, like on a boss or in a raid on a boss, then it's not a good DPS ability. You want to use Templar's Verdict. It's not a brilliant healing ability. And of course, one problem we're going to have in raids is the fact that, one, we're not going to be able to move out of stuff very well, not as well as other melee. And defensively, we've got Divine Shield, of course, and if we take Divine Intervention and think, stuff it, the 2 movement talents we have are so shit. Of course, it's a decision on a fight-by-fight basis. But if we decide that they're too shit for whatever we need to deal with, just take that and hope that our Divine Shield is fine on a 2.5 minute cooldown to deal with whatever is needed to be dealt with. But the Justicars Vengeance, the problem with using that in a raid is, 1, it's a DPS loss, and 2, although it could have some use in a desperate situation to heal ourselves up and let the healers concentrate on others, it's not great, and of course it takes time to build up 5 holy power. But again, maybe, if Holy Wrath became more competitive, you could argue about that. But my issue with this is it's always going to be in direct competition with Blessings of Justice. And in a raid situation, you are very likely to be putting 3 Blessings of Might on DPS who are going to do more DPS than you in a particular phase of the fight. And if that is the situation, if you've got 3 in your raid who will always do more DPS you in a given phase of a fight, then you are going to get a lot of DPS benefit from using Blessings of Justice. And I just don't see a role for Holy Wrath. Because I see Holy Wrath as being a defensive ability. It's a way of building up 5 Holy Power really quickly to then use for Justicars Vengeance. I mean, of course, building up 5 Holy Power quickly also has offensive considerations. But because of the time it takes to channel, it's not a case of, okay, I can use my Judgment. I've got this short Colossus Smash type window to get it in. Let's say we're not using Greater Judgment, but at the moment we absolutely would. So I'm going to do that, and then use Holy Wrath. Well, no, because the channel time means you're going to waste that window. So I see it as a defensive ability to get you 5 Holy Power and then use on Justicars Vengeance. Right, so if we now look at some dungeon gameplay. In this particular one, I've gone for Blessings of Justice because it's just going to be more competitive. You do have to watch out for one thing with Blessings of Justice. When your target changes talents, they will lose it. So you have to keep an eye on them in a dungeon because, of course, people will change talents during dungeons, and when they do, they're going to lose the Blessing of Might. Now, this is where you've got a problem, of course, with Greater Judgment, because if Judgment's on cooldown when those ads appear, I can't spread the debuff onto them. I have to wait for Judgment to come off cooldown, and then it will only go to an additional 3 of them. And of course, there are more than 3 mobs there. Now, you'll also notice there are more than 3 extra Greater Judgment debuffs on them, but that's a little bit of a bug. It seems to be doing something very funny at the moment. It won't actually be that strong when it's dealt with. Here's a problem we have. We shouldn't get stunned there. We shouldn't take in that damage there. We should be on this little island here. But Tank is not bringing the boss over to those little islands for when she does that ability. And on similar fights, when the same sort of thing happens, you are at the mercy of the tank dealing with those situations. This is where we are going to struggle a little bit. But, I mean, from a raid point of view, of course, it will be different because everyone will discuss strategies and things like that in a way that people just don't in dungeons. And, of course, when you do the mythic dungeons, you'll hopefully be in a group again where people will communicate, so you won't get all of this stuff going off. Now, in other terms, when you can actually get over to the boss, which is not easy, if you get yourself out of position again, we haven't got the movement. It's not too bad. The flow is not actually too bad at all. I did do a video on our downtime and how it's not necessarily as bad as some people think. That doesn't mean to say that our playstyle is at all the same. It is absolutely not. But you probably want to check out that video, which I'll put a link to if you haven't already seen it. So for this boss, I actually took Holy Wrath with the intention of maybe getting some extra finishers out during an Avenging Wrath window, which it sort of occurred to me might be a good offensive use for Holy Wrath. But this fight was just over so quickly. It starts off anyway. I've done this last time I did this. It was on normal, and it starts off on a lowish health. It's one of those where warriors are immediately into execute phase. But yeah, I didn't get a second use off. Really weird. But the flow, as I say, is okay. What is a worry on this boss? The damage on it was quite low, and one of the reasons for that is my Wake of Ashes just wasn't hitting it. I mean, I'm in melee range of it. I don't want to go into that whirlpool that it stood in, but none of those Wakes of Ashes were actually hitting it. They were going off, pointed towards the boss. There's not an issue with that. I'm in melee range because obviously I'm meleeing, and it's not hitting it. So I hope Blizzard are going to sort of deal with that. It's probably because the boss is actually quite big. But even, you know, if you project 12 yards in front, it still should be hitting the boss. But yeah. So there might be some issues like that. And it is, unfortunately, one of those little bugs which you hope will be dealt with. But it's the sort of thing that sometimes does make it to live. But, you know, I've reported it, and hopefully others will report it. And hopefully that will be dealt with. Ah, right. Okay. I always want to check this, don't I? Okay, it's not working, but it's putting it on cooldown. So I can't just change the talent. It's getting better. It's now going on cooldown without actually giving me anything. So Divine Steed still not working indoors, in dungeons. Right. That. Holy Wrath. That. Trying to get out as many finishes as I can under my Avenging Wrath, which is now gone. This is where my speed is not helping me. Wake of Ashes. At least Wake of Ashes is nice to me. What is that? Oh, bugger. Oh, I can actually kill that. Alright. Nice. Oh, God. Holy Wrath again. Come on, Judgment. Fucking hell. Right, I'm going to use a Justicars Vengeance. Little heal. Remember, it doesn't matter about Judgment falling off if I'm only using Holy Power Builders, because it doesn't work with those anyway. They must have changed talents. Changing talents, you lose. Now I need to save me Avenging Wrath. Oh, bugger, what have I used that for? What a spanner. No, you surely... Oh, crap. I think he knows what he's doing, this tank, but... Oh, crap. Right. Don't stun me, you arsehole. What is stunning me? Should be alright. Oh, I said I was going to get rid of Holy Wrath, didn't I? Never mind. Oh, balls. Right, where's the things? I'll get this one. No. Yes, no. Don't fucking do that. Oh, is no one going to do that one? Hold on.
Curse the wardens and their leaders.
Holy crap! Right, hold on. I'm Justicars Vengeance in this. What am I doing? Shield of Vengeance. Ah, I'm getting extra. Why did I use Wake of Ashes there? What a cretin. Very thoughtful when people die, give me extra damage. Thank you very much. Okay. See if I can remember. Well, I say remember. I can possibly remember vaguely what goes on normal. Not heroic. He's changed fucking talents again. Stop it.
So be it. I will slay you all.
This seems like a reasonable opener. And the Holy Wrath there, so when she's moving away isn't too bad. I can't remember what's going to go on here. Apart from the fact I'm going to guess I need to get out of the way of that shit. There's like traps, tethers that they had in...
Not be stopped. I have fought too long, suffered too much. Victory must be mine.
Oh. Missed a trick there. Poor demon hunter with his eye beam when the fucking boss is moving about. I've been there, mate. Fucking annoying. Alright, Holy Wrath time. Oh shit. Get some Justicars Vengeance on the go. Not too worried about my damage, I just want to see how it plays really. Obviously I don't want it to be shit. Creeping Doom, I don't like the sound of that. Alright, fine. Oh, crap! The fuck was that? Oh, do we have to get in the way of those? They're too easy to dodge, so maybe... I don't know, do we? Right, I've just done something stupid. I don't know what. What am we doing wrong here? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm not dealing with those things. I don't know what to do with them.
Death embraces you. Perhaps not for the first time. You should know better than to challenge a warden.
Okay, can't bring you the conclusion of the fight, I'm afraid. We had a few wipes, and then I got the blame for running into those things that we do indeed avoid. It seems a bit of a strange mechanic. They're very easy to avoid. But yes, me going straight through the centre of the gaps each time and round the outside of them is apparently me running right into them. But anyway, doesn't matter. I'd looked at what I wanted to see anyway. I've tried out a few fights with Holy Wrath. It's... a lot of people are just not going to like it. It's not very Retribution-y. And that means, of course, that current Retribution players, some of them are going to still stick with it. I'm still going to stick with it because I have my reasons for playing Retribution Paladin. I'm actually going to do a video on it this week. I thought it would be quite a good idea to explain my reasons for playing Retribution Paladin and why I'm still going to do so in Legion. But I can well understand some people who are going to be a bit annoyed by this playstyle, even if it ends up being competitive. It's very difficult to tell from the logs how much it is. I mean, if you look at the logs, which I will link as I always do, you'll see the Demon Hunter going absolutely insane. And that is just because Demon Hunters are very overtuned in this build, so don't worry about that. But yeah, it makes it tricky to see just how competitive Holy Wrath is from a pure numbers point of view, but from a playstyle point of view, it's just very much the opposite of how Retribution Paladins have been for many years now. And I think some people are going to take some convincing. But for solo play, it has that synergy with Justicars Vengeance that I mentioned. So, yeah, it's worth looking at with a positive outlook, I think. So those are what I think of the changes in this build. If you found it useful, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And if you've got questions, don't forget to put comments in there. I'll try and get back to you. And until next time, I'll see you later.